It was the last chance for Lionel Messi to win the one trophy missing from his glittering collection when he leads Argentina into Sunday's 22nd World Cup final against Kylian Mbappe and France at Lusail Stadium in Qatar. That's the greeting as I welcome you back to the SportsMax Zone for this Friday, December 16, 2022. Now, France have the chance to emulate Italy in 1934 and 1938, and Brazil of 1958 and 1970 as the only two, 1962 rather, as the only two nations to win back-to-back World Cups. Messi and Mbappe are locked on 5 goals at the front of the Golden Boot race, although the illustrious Argentine edges the head-to-head with 3 assists to the 2 registered by the waspish Frenchman. France's Olivier Giroud has 4 goals, the same number as Argentina's Julian Alvarez. Messi was sublime at times as Argentina overcame Croatia in their semi-final, while France overcame a plucky Morocco to reach Sunday's championship game. Croatia and Morocco meet in the third-place playoff on Saturday, and both teams have played so well it would be a criminal to call it the wooden spoon contest, given what both have contributed to the World Cup. Our football correspondent Simon Evans was in Qatar. He was in the stadium for both semi-finals, and who better than him to join us to look ahead to the final. Simon, our friend, good afternoon and welcome back.
Good afternoon. Good to be back.
Excellent, my friend. All right, let's start with the final. Let's start with the Croatia-Morocco game, just to get it out of the way and talk about the important thing. There always is the question of well-being and mindset going into the consolation game after the group of players for both nations would have failed in their quest to achieve their stated aim or the mission of making the World Cup final. So it's all about powers of motivation. Who do you think is better poised to rebound and to deliver a capital effort in that Saturday third-place game?
Yeah, if we're talking about motivation, for me, it has to be Morocco then in that case, because Croatia's been there before in the third-place game. They've been there in the final and been beaten. For them to finish third rather than fourth with their history is not a decisive factor, whereas for Morocco, the difference between third and fourth for them will feel like something. You know, they've never been at this stage of a tournament before. So I think they'll be fired up. But I do think both sides will give opportunities to players who haven't really featured yet in this tournament. You've had guys who've been there for a long time in the squad of 26 and haven't had a minute. And if they don't get on in the third place game, then they're going home a little bit unhappy. So I would expect to see 2 very different teams, but a Morocco one that might be a little bit more fired up than the Croatians.
Yeah, you know, as fans, you always expect, heading into a third-place playoff in a World Cup final, 2 cars with no handbrakes racing. Are we likely to see both teams playing as they did over the course of the tournament, or are we going to see the coaches just sending the players to enjoy and express themselves, giving us, the fans, an open, entertaining, and hopefully high-scoring game?
Yeah, I've seen quite a lot of Croatia over the last 30 years since they emerged on that tournament in 1998, and they play the same way all the time. You know, they're very disciplined, very organised. They have a way of playing, and they don't have great strikers, unfortunately for them. That's why they're not in the final. And I would expect Croatia to play the same way. And I think Morocco, we might see a little bit more of what we saw in the semi-final, which is Morocco on the front foot, which we hadn't seen throughout the tournament, where they defended so well and fought and counter-attacked. But against France, France gave them the ball and said, come and attack us. And I think they might well get a second chance to do something like that against the Croats.
All right. And do you think, who do you think is better poised to win? Who do you think will take that third place?
I think Morocco will just sneak it. I think they will, because I think they're just so fired up, those players, you know. And I was at the press conference of their coach, who's a fantastic man, by the way, a real character, talking in clear language, full of ideas, you know. And I think he'll get his players wound up and ready to go in that game.
All right, to the big game now. You saw that Croatia-Argentina semi-final. From what we saw on TV, it was as if Messi was picking his moments to say, okay, now I'm going to torture them. No, I'm going to torture them. I'm going to walk and look disinterested. No, I'm going to torture them. As if he picked his moments well, and he was just a class apart with what he did in that game. Is that how it looked to you watching on live?
Yeah, it did. Absolutely. I mean, there's a phrase that, like, the viewers might have heard increasingly being used in the language, which is scanning. that Messi is scanning the defence. And the first 20 minutes of the game, that's what he's doing. He's walking around and he's looking at them and he's seeing how they move, how they react, what gaps are being left. And then he waits and waits. And then usually around the 17th, 22, that period of the game, you start to see Messi attacking those gaps or trying to take advantage of things. And then he'll go quiet again for a little bit. And he really is. That's the way he's playing. That's the late career Lionel Messi. He's sitting a little bit deeper, examining things. But as we saw with that brilliant assist for Alvarez, where he went past Gvardiol, a 20-year-old, and the 35-year-old left him standing due to his skill and his intelligence and his technique, he could still do it in other ways as well.
Yeah, Simon, most World Cup finals don't have a lot of goals. We saw 6 in the final in Russia, so that was an exception. So when you analyze what is likely to happen on Sunday, you want to think about the team that's defense line is more susceptible to making errors when you're trying to select a winner. And if we do that, somehow Argentina's defense line looks a little bit more vulnerable than the French defense line, does it?
It does, yeah, although, Deschamps is going to have a decision to make about who plays in the middle of that defence as well, because Upamecano had played throughout the tournament and I thought looked a little bit shaky against England, and then he was ill for the semi-final, and Konate has come in and I thought had a very good game actually for France against Morocco. So does he stick with Konate or does he bring Upamecano back in? That's a big question for them. I do think there's a little bit of shakiness in that French defence as well. I agree with you, your overall premise, but I think we could be in for a few goals because I don't think either side's strength is at their back.
Yeah, the other thing is that Messi and Mbappe are teammates when they play club football. They are, well, we have to say bitter rivals now on Sunday because both of them want it very badly. How much colour does that fact add to this final clash?
Yeah, I think it does. It certainly does for the Qataris, who, of course, own Paris Saint-Germain. I mean, this for them is an absolute dream. They've got the World Cup final in their capital city with 2 players they effectively own through Paris Saint-Germain. So it's a big deal from them, and we'll see loads of images in the marketing over the years for Qatar and for PSG, I'm sure. But no, I think it really, when it gets down to this, the club factor comes out of the players' minds. They're going out there, Mbappe with that chance to make history. Messi at 35, this is it. This is the chance. Everyone has said the one thing that's missing from his CV is a World Cup. Well, here it is. Here's your chance. You've helped create that chance. Go and do it. So there's some great storylines and great motivation for both players.
We had a riveting debate in the SportsMax zone room. When you get here to Jamaica, Simon, we're going to sit you down in the zone room and have some of our younger members here take you on. Trust me, you're going to be in for a fight because they know their sports really, really deep. So we had that riveting discussion about the teams and the strength of the teams that our 2 finalists have faced up to this point. And one thread that emerged was that to this point, Argentina, well, not even to this point, Argentina have not faced a team with the capacity to destroy, the capacity to hurt them like the French has. Because when you look at the individual teams that Argentina has played, Saudi Arabia scored 2 goals against them, but that was a 1,000,000-1 result. Nobody expected that. And then the Saudis had difficulty scoring goals in subsequent games, which is why they exited the tournament at the group stage. The mighty Australia, has no firepower to scare anybody. Croatia doesn't have the firepower. They have everything else except a striker with a clinical eye. Poland has one man who's destructive, Robert Lewandowski, but habitually, Poland struggled to get the ball to Lewandowski in dangerous areas, which is why his goal return in major tournaments is so poor. So Argentina have not faced a team with the capacity to destroy them like the French have, which may cause different approach in planning by the coach. And of course, the pressure on the players, the individuals for Argentina, will be greater facing France. And when you look at it, the Argentina team coming to this point, they are looking at individuals wide in the attacking areas, Mbappe, Dembele, centrally Giroud, in the middle of the park, that carry a threat that will be a significant one. That's one of the threads that has emerged, and some people believe that will have a decisive role to play in the outcome on Sunday. What say you?
I think it's a fair point about the paths that they've had because, you know, you look at the quarter-final, France had to come through against England, and Argentina didn't play a team on England's level in this tournament. The nearest would be the Netherlands, and I don't think the Netherlands posed quite as much of a threat over that game as England did. I mean, England could very easily have knocked out France without going back over that painful episode again. But, you know, they were very close to it. It was a very even, intense game of football. And if Argentina are looking to see what they're going to be up against, they would do well to study that game, I think, more than any of the other games. But I think you're right. I think the French attack does pose a lot more questions. And, of course, you add into that mix Antoine Griezmann, who is not really part of the French attack as such. He's not part of the front three, but who dictates so much of their play and creates so much from that new, deeper midfield role he's playing. And I think France do ask a lot more questions. For Argentina, can you stop Messi is still the number one question, even though I think the emergence of Alvarez in this tournament, who is the kind of like, you know, certain viewers will remember in 1986 when Maradona won it, he had Jorge Valdano in front of him, who scored goals, 4 goals, the same as Alvarez has scored in this tournament. I think it makes Argentina much more of a dangerous side now that there's something in front of Messi. We weren't sure about that at the start of the tournament. Alvarez has got that spot off Lautaro Martinez, and he's really posing some problems with a lot of intelligent running and so on. So there is more to Argentina than just Messi. But I do think France have a more potent attack and ask a lot more questions from a lot more positions.
Hear you on that. Hold the point right there, Simon. We're going to take a break and come right back. This is the SportsMax Zone.